Hey, hi everyone. This is Ramona coming back at you. I know it's been a really long time. Just been really busy, and every time I want to sit down and do a video, something comes up, and I'm not able to do it. Or my kids come home, which my son is probably going to come home any minute now, come through the door, and oh well, this is the only time I can do it. So, I wanted to talk to you guys about having a midlife crisis. I can't believe I'm at the age where I would think that I'd be going through a midlife crisis. And knowing me, um, when I'm going through something, I analyze it to death, coming up with a resolve ASAP, because that's what I also suggest to you guys for doing. It's just better to resolve things and float around in confusion and not knowing what's going on with yourself and what have you. And so it's just kind of crazy because I have to like not be so nervous. I'm kind of nervous right now because I haven't made a video in so long. But anyways, here we go. So there was a time. First of all, let me tell you what a midlife crisis is. Okay, so as I said, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I know what a lot of people think of a midlife crisis is where you just go haywire, and you start doing. If you have the money, you start buying things like a motorcycle, or you start going traveling, just dropping everything, even leaving your career or leaving whatever it is that was currently important to you, you just drop it and leave it, and you go a little bonkers. You don't sit down and rationalize. You're not rational and sit down and think about what's going on. And I think that people who do that are not people who really have taken the time to get to know themselves. Because I think that people who really have taken the time to get to know themselves, and they wouldn't go through a midlife catastrophe. You know what I mean? And I think that the reason why that is because if you're living your life as usual, and then all of a sudden you just feel like you're kind of getting like panic attacks, thinking about your future, thinking about how life is for you currently right now, the things that you're doing, the goals that you might have, are those goals getting accomplished? Are they getting done? And you start really like, ugh, all of a sudden, like, you can't sleep at night, you're tossing and turning, you just feel really uncomfortable and just really unhappy. Like, you feel like you've been given a deadline and to get things done. And then when you realize that, oh God, okay, so I have this deadline and I don't even have any set goals to get this thing accomplished. So it's like you're completely lost and you're running in circles. You're running in circles and you just don't know what to do. And I think that is when you just burn out. And there's my son. Nicholas, go answer the door, please. Sorry about that, you guys.
I'm trying yet not to lose my.
All right, I'm making a video.
Seems
So, as I was saying, yeah, so what people tend to usually do is they go, instead of going through the processes of dealing with one thing at a time, you just panic, you lose control, and you just drop everything. And that's absolutely bonkers to do that, because I hope this doesn't slow down because I just got a pop-up mail. So, and I'm gonna tell you that I actually did that, and I didn't realize what I was doing at that time, but I actually did. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I did, but I also want to go ahead and explain a little bit further. So no, a lot of people think that midlife crisis happens to you in your 40s or mid 40s, like 40, 45. you're halfway done with your life. Well, yeah, because I think that I'm not 80 years old, I'm not 70 years old, so I don't know how it's going to be when I turn that. But I don't imagine that life is over at that point, because I am fully in belief that there is always a surprise coming around that bend. Maybe you'll get a new romance. You have no idea. Maybe maybe if you've never found that right one, maybe it happens when you're 60 years old. You just never know. Life is crazy that way. How you think you're so sewn into your life how it is right now, and you can never ever even fathom or dream about your life being any different. Like owning a house, like what? Owning a house? No, that's definitely not. That's never going to happen for me. Or running, a business, or going back to school, or any of those things. If you never know what's around that corner. I am here to tell you, you never know what's going. So whenever you're like depressed about life or anything like that, never get so blue about the entirety of your life, because you never know what's going to come around that corner. Nothing stands still forever. So, I am 42 years old. I'm 42 years old, and so I look back, and I know that I've overcome a lot of hurdles in my life. There's like big, major, those those hurdles where it could be misconstrued as a midlife crisis. Because I was looking back while I was thinking about all those things, and I remember where there was a time, there have been a few times in my life where I've hit this road where there's life is knocking at you to like, okay, so things are definitely need to change. Sometimes that's within yourself that you want to change, or sometimes things outside yourself in life happen to you where you're forced to just like, okay, what I'm doing right now is not okay. Things must change. It has to change. So if it's something for within yourself, is that maybe you're depressed. Maybe it's been going on for years because what you're doing and how you're living your life is not pleasurable anymore. And if you live another day like how you've been living, you're just gonna go crazy, and you feel like a definite and an immediate need to change something in your life. You don't know what that is. You don't have a plan. You don't have any goals. You don't have anything. You don't know where you're going, but you know that things have to get changed. But that's an inside thing. But then sometimes you have those outside, making sure I am live. But then you have those outside things that happen to you. Maybe maybe you do own a house, and all of a sudden, you lose your house. That can be a crisis right there, and that could be at any age. It doesn't have to be midlife. It could be in your 20s. So that was what I was getting to you about, which midlife crisis is. I'm not all about the age factor. It's basically after when you enter adulthood, and that's when your life is in the limelight, and some things flow along, but there are things that crash and into you, and you're like, big major turnaround that has to happen here. So like maybe you lose your house, like I said. Maybe you got pregnant. Maybe you're forced to travel. Maybe the job that you have, or not just a job, but the career that you have, has said, okay, well, we can't have you at this company anymore, but we need to take you. If you're going to keep this job, we have to relocate you to California when you lived on the East Coast for like all your life, child from birth to however age you are now. That could be in your 20s, that could be in your 30s. It doesn't matter how old you are in years. It's just the crisis in itself. It's one of those just highlighted things that call for a new life, completely different. And some people, when that happens, they panic. They panic really badly, and that's like to be expected, especially when you have nobody to talk to educate you about how to deal with a crisis in your life, a midlife crisis. Okay. Um, and I think that, like, the the bad thing that comes out of not knowing what to do is that you fall into a depression and you kind of stay there, because depression, which some people don't know, is a comfort zone for a lot of people. It's easier to be depressed. Depression is a place where, if you've had a hard life, you had a lot of humps to overcome, and a big chunk of the time you're constantly in like a protective state, which is depression. And that feelings connected with that, it's easier to say, you know what, I am depressed. This depression has befallen me, so therefore I am the epitome of depression, so I'm just going to flow with the depression. That's just life. Life sucks. And it's sad, but a lot of people live that way. They don't realize, they don't see the opportunities within them, the doors that are there, or maybe they do see that the opportunities are there, but they have such a low self-esteem, and they're scared and fearful about what you were so sewn into this one way of living, and now you're being forced by life or by within yourself to go across that board and make that major change where your life is going to be completely different. So some people stay in that depression. Then there is, okay, so they're just living like, okay, I am depressed right now, but I know depression is not forever. And so they set out to make all these goals, a list of goals, and they can be really great goals and things that they're capable of doing. I'm not talking about things that are outlandish where, okay, I'm going to become a violinist when you can't play a tune. Some people actually go ahead and they make these outlandish decisions for themselves, which ultimately are going to fail, you know what I mean? But some people, they actually do have, healthy goals. They make these awesome goals. But the sad thing is that the fear factor, or the limited knowledge on how to take those steps on reaching your goals, like going through one goal, taking that one goal and going through it, going step by step, however long it takes, but going through it. So they have all these goals and they're just not doing anything with their goals. That too can lead to depression. Then you start getting down on yourself, and then for some people, like I said, who are not going to swim in an epitome of depression constantly, and they're just out. That's when they start going a little crazy. They feel like they're a cornered animal in a corner, and they have this list of goals, and they're just like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do with my life, So that's when they crash and burn. That's when they go to the not midlife crisis, okay? Because what I've described, those two things, are the midlife crisis. But then the next thing that they do is they have a fire under their butt, and now they're just doing anything and everything just to feel free from this craziness of life pushing them to make changes. So they start doing anything and everything to make any kind of changes whatsoever. And those are the people who go ahead and they buy, they spend all their money traveling around the world. They leave their careers. They drop out of school. things that are really healthy, they'll just drop flat. Some people, they even drop their marriages. They leave their families behind, and they just run off, pack up. Some people don't even pack up. They just up and go. They buy a plane ticket and say, I'm moving to the West Coast. What happens when I get there happens. That's a catastrophe, because you've left behind some really great things. So basically, you're changing things in your life that should never have been changed, because those were like solid things that needed to stay intact. Whether that was your family, your career, that bank roll, instead of spending all your money buying a sports car or buying a boat to sail through the world, I hope that this is working. Okay. So I was realizing that I'm like, I must be going through a midlife crisis, not a catastrophe, but a midlife crisis, because I feel things that are like really changing for me. And I also say, if you watch my videos, I'm a great believer in the law of attraction. So because that's so sewn within me, and I have such a great belief, the law of attraction works so well for me. And so whatever is in my mind that it's burning bright, like a really bright star, whatever I'm thinking, whether it's back here or up here, good or bad, it manifests. It may be immediate, or it may be over a chunk of a month or a couple of months, depending on what it is that I'm working on. Why do I feel dizzy? It's this computer making me dizzy. Ugh. I should have drinking water. I'm drinking coffee. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have taken that break, because I forgot what I've talked about. But so I wanted to give you like an example of something, one of my crises, which didn't happen in my 40s. It happened like in my mid-30s or something like that, where I was just living my life like I was 20 years old. Not completely irresponsible, but definitely not doing the things that I felt that I needed to be doing, and like not going to school, not thinking about a career, I don't know, just like living my life the way that the breeze blew me. And I was dealing with a lot of crappy people in my life, just living on other people's coattails, whether that was negative or positive. Mostly negative, because the people, you tend to hang around people whoever you are as a person. So if you're dealing with a whole lot of drama people, it's usually because you're living your life irresponsibly and dramatically, that you're putting yourself on a pedestal, which you don't need to be there. You haven't done anything to deserve to be on a pedestal. You just put yourself as importance number one, along with some other people you've made their lives importance number one, when reality it's not. You guys are just silly and immature and not doing anything significant, like going to school. So, but I was dealing with these people, and also, like, I think that I knew as well that I wasn't supposed to be hanging around. If I knew that if I needed changes in my life, I needed to get a new, fresh set of people in my life, or just base. And like I said earlier, like, I didn't have anyone in my life to show me, okay, this is a crisis that you're going through. You are craving a completely turned over life, and these are the steps that you need to take. I didn't have that, so I went what I described earlier, which is there's those three steps, but I just went to burn, flat out, base zero. And I decided that the one thing I knew is that I know if I want any change, I got to get rid of certain situations and certain people in my life, or else I won't have a chance. And so what I ended up doing is just dumping everybody out of my life, except my children, of course, but everybody else dumped systematically, one by one, but it was happening, systematically. And so I messed myself up for like that big chunk of time because um, I didn't have anything to set me up for like a springboard. I didn't give myself a springboard before I left everything in my life and everybody in my life. So that was the one thing that I should have done. So like, for another example, so if it is that you're not really happy in the career that you're at and you are just getting more and more depressed, very, very unhappy, you know for facts that this is not for you. But instead of doing your research, finding out what it is that you are good at, things that you enjoy, does it make money for me? Getting a logical, clear set of, is this feasible what I want to do? So if I want to be an artist, whatever, is this feasible? Is this going to make me money? Is this going to pay my bills? Is this going to do this? Is this going to, like, that was the big element that was missing, the springboard to see, like, okay, what do I want to do with my life then? What is it that I wanted to do? But I didn't do any of that. I didn't set up a springboard for myself. I just washed everything out. I'm not joking. And that was really hard. It actually took me like 2 years to get back up on my feet. And the more time that I was spending alone, the more time I was not reaching out to anybody, the more I was getting depressed, the more I was feeling lost, the more I was like just confused about where to go, you know what I mean? The more I was not trusting of people, it was just a horrible mess. And I had to build myself up. I mean, that was the plan, to build myself up, but I could have done it where I had a basis of a goal that I can reach for. So that can be applied to you guys as well. Like I guess I just gave that example. Like for me, I take that advice too. Never leave something that's important in your life unless you have a serious, hardcore goal that's feasible and doable, and that you can work on in order to achieve it. And I know that you should at least get your feet set in get yourself rooted into that before you go ahead and you drop your career or pick up and move to another country, pick up or move to the other side of the country, because then if you don't do that, you reach catastrophe. Not a crisis, but a catastrophe. But so those were some advice that I wanted to share with you. So why was it that I was thinking about midlife crisis in my life? So like I said, I don't think that I'm going through a catastrophe right now. I definitely do feel like I'm going through a bit of a crisis. I think that I'm definitely a wake-up call within myself. Like, you know what? It's time to like really take a serious look at my future. I don't advocate floating through life, wherever the wind blows you. I mean, that's vacation time. That's a vacation. You can't live your life in vacation mode for years to come. That's just setting you up for a downfall. That's setting you up for catastrophe. So, yeah, I was thinking about my future, and I'm like, okay, well, I was going to school. I finished my 11th grade, got pregnant, then I got my GED, and then went off to college. college I couldn't do because I did a quarter of the college, and because of life circumstances, I couldn't finish my education. So here I am at age 42, and I'm uneducated. I am alone with just my children, and I started thinking I'm like, my children are getting older. One day they're going to grow up and they're going to move out of my home, and I'm not the type of parent who's going to be like, oh, come live with me. Like I know that a lot of parents do that because of crises, I'm sure. They haven't gotten a goal about what's going to happen in their future. They didn't take the time to do that. They were just living in the moment and then even living vicariously through their kids, I'm not going to ever do that to my kids, so I know that one day they're going to move out, and then what am I going to do? Like, then I'm thinking about my finances, and I think about, will I be alone in a relationship? Because right now I feel, which I worked really hard at, being independent, an independent person, not having to rely on anybody in this world, okay? And so I worked really hard on that. But I also know that I'm so comfortable being independent and not relying on anybody. Like, then I think about my future, like, oh my God, will I ever be able to let anybody else in for romance, relationship? Probably never going to get married, but like I said, you never know what's around that bend. But then I'm thinking, you know what, Ramona, you really need to start thinking about that, like learning how to be interested in dating again, and maybe if not right now, but that's a strong possibility, because I know nobody, unless you're excruciatingly happy in your life being alone forever. I know that there's some people out in the world like that. There's some people who, in a healthy way, would appreciate and would like to live out their golden age with somebody. Somebody to watch TV with, somebody to walk through the park with, somebody to talk to, So that was another thing I was looking for. And then I was also thinking, like, I feel really unfulfilled here because, for a big chunk of my time having children, my youngest one, God bless, he's calm, he's improved so much. So he's autistic, but he's so smart, and he's come such a long way where I'm still needed at home for him, for his other physical issues, but like, cause he has low health, it's not that strong, so sometimes he gets sick, but not as often as he used to. So I do have the ability to go off to school again if I wanted to. And I'm like, oh my God, going to school, getting education again, like, that was really, really scary. Really, really scary. And so that was like the main thing right there, because like for me, I feel like it's not about career at this point. It probably will at some point, but right now it's just more of feeling adequate and complete. Like, I've actually finished and I've actually accomplished things in my life. I've accomplished a lot of things, but when it's just for me only, like, what have I like really accomplished for me only? Because there's a lot of things I've accomplished in my life because of my children. I was forced to accomplish these things, many things, because I am caregiver number one. Okay. But I'm talking about just for me. I feel like everybody in this world, in order to avoid a crisis, that's a part of it, you do need to know that you can accomplish something. There's something that's within yourself that is strong, smart, and able to take on whatever it is that you give yourself. Goals that you give yourself, that you can accomplish them. feeling complete that way. I think everybody needs to feel that stable, have that stability of just knowing. So I've been thinking about that a lot, a lot, a lot. And all of a sudden, one day, so I was watching, I was watching this episode. It wasn't, it was a season, and actually, it was 4 seasons. I don't know if anybody has ever heard of Switched at Birth. Okay, so Switched at Birth was all about um, these two families, and the children got the babies got switched at birth, but one of the babies, and then later on they realized that what their mistake, and so they became one big family. I mean, one baby was deaf, and the other one wasn't. So it was just them going through. Everybody had to learn sign language, etc. And I just found it was so fascinating, and I was just like so amazed at this new world of being deaf and how it affects families, and I felt like the language was really beautiful and very unique and on its own. Like, it's not just like learning Spanish or any other kind of language. That doesn't actually sit well with me. I've tried to learn other languages. And so I'm like watching them doing a sign language, and I'm like, I started copying them and learning, and I'm like, you know what, I'm so good at that. And it feels, and inside it felt really good that I'm like, oh my God, I finally realized there's something that I can do that comes so easily for me. Because like a lot of the things I try to accomplish, you know, it's such a hurdle. Like, I don't want to do it. I don't like. There's always like that big negative thing along with the positive thing, and like sometimes that the negative was like bigger than the positive of the goal that I wanted to accomplish. But this was like actually the opposite. I was like thinking like, wow, I felt really good inside that like I can actually do this, and you know what? It's really easy for me. So it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm telling you, for anybody who, I want to get back to my point, but for anybody, for all of you who think that your life is monotonous, it's boring, you're sewed into who you are and what you're doing, never, listen to me. That's one lesson to learn. You never know what's coming around that bend. You never know. Ever. So life is full of so many surprises, and if you ever feel like depressed, like, you know, don't be, because you never know what's coming around that bend. Life never stands still, always changes. And when it does stay the same for a big chunk of time, there's a good reason why it's staying the same for that big chunk of time, you know. I would get depressed a lot because I had to stay in the house a lot because if my son's sick, I had to be in the house taking care of him. Like, that was years and years and years. Of course I do for my kids because I love them and they love me and they rely on me. But on the inside, like, I had a lot of good days, but some of those days when I felt like I need the sunshine, I need to be out, you know, I need to be doing something, I need to be talking to adults, you know. And a lot of times I was denied that. But that was something that I had to go through, you know what I mean? But, so anyways, so back to what I was saying before. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to take a leap. I'm not going to crawl to this. I'm just going to take a big fat leap in seeing what I can do about seriously learning about sign language, because like I said, it's something I'm really, really great at. It makes me feel good inside. I love the deaf culture, everything. So I went to my local community college, which is right down the street from me. Sorry, this is shaking. Come to find out that they don't have ASL, American Language. Then I did some more research, and then I realized that the only college that's close by here is Northeastern, just right down the street from me. But Northeastern is a very prestigious college, and it costs big bucks, big bucks. You know, I don't have the big bucks. Okay. But as I say, law of attraction, if you keep at what you're doing and then also opening up to people, spread the word, let people know, you know what I mean? And people who care about you, or even if they don't care, they just happen to talk like, oh, you know, you will receive, you know. So somebody had came up to me, actually it was a friend of mine. She came up to me. She has a special needs child herself who doesn't speak. They don't speak sign language. They don't speak sign language. But she happened to know about different programs that they had out there for her child, which is she's an adult special needs person. For her child, she had to learn about different programs out there, and I'm sure that the doctors have told her, well, why don't you go to this place to learn sign language? So maybe you can communicate with your daughter in that way. Because she's not just deaf, she's very, I think she's like 7 years old mentally, but she's 40 years old, you know, so she couldn't like really learn sign language. It'll only take them so far. So, anyway, so she had told me, she was like, well, Ramona, why don't you go, I don't know if I should say the name of this program, but anyways, why not? So she was like, why don't you try Deaf Inc.? And I'm like, Deaf Inc.? Isn't that in Alston? I thought that was like a school for teenagers. And she was like, they have classes, and you pay a small tuition, and you can take classes up there. They have semesters, and you can learn. And I'm like, what? And then I looked up, and it was like, it's only $200 for 10 weeks. So eventually, I think at the end of the program, it's $1,000, but you pay $200 per semester. So every 10 weeks, you pay $200. And I'm like, wow. So I actually looked it up online, and I went ahead and I did what I had to do, paid the money, paid my book, which was, by the way, really expensive. And I did it. And then I just showed up for class. And then I showed up for another class. So yesterday was my second class. The majority of the people in there are college students. Don't care. I don't care. I'm not really there to make friends or anything like that, but I'm there to like educate myself. I'm feeling good that I'm actually doing something for myself that makes me happy, something that I know that I can accomplish. It's not something that I'm not unsure of. I am positive that I can do this. So I managed to overcome a crisis in my life, because I'm telling you, for like a long chunk of time, I know like the last video I had made, and a lot of times I'm out there doing very like really busy, and but I have noticed that like more and more and more I was just staying in my home, just running away from my issues, being on internet, watching TV, not even really interacting with my friends, not really doing, and I'm like, oh, and it actually took me a long time. Usually I'm like up on that, but it actually took me a long time to realize that, Ramona, you're not happy. There's something really wrong with you right now. And, you know, that's when I started thinking about going within myself and figuring out what's going on. And I'm like, you know what? I started doing a lot of research online about midlife crisis, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going through a midlife crisis. Because, like, there was other things that I've been taking on. Like, I go to cooking, anything that like we discussed earlier, anything that I felt like that's going to change my life or make me feel different, I would do. So I'm actually taking, learning how to cook seafood from a master chef from the Hyatt here in Boston. It's a class that I'm taking. So I'm doing that. Actually, oh, what time is it? Okay, I have 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm 20 minutes left. Okay, so I have that class tonight. And I've noticed and then I have family night that I go on every Thursday, which is moved to Friday now. But I've been doing that. I've been trying to just stay really busy, but it was, and which is a good thing, but not necessarily doing it for myself. It's just something just to keep really active. You know what I mean? Or maybe it is for myself, but not necessarily something that's going to help me in my future to make me feel that I'm capable. Like everybody, you know what I mean? Like you have to get that knowing that you're going to be all right. No matter what hits you over the head in life, you're going to be all right because you've had these experiences that not because you were doing for other people, but you were doing for yourself, and that you can save yourself whatever comes across your path. And I think that's how you divert from having a crisis, because like once you know that knowing about yourself, that you can save yourself over and over again. So when that crisis hits you, or another way of saying it, when life is telling you, okay, you need to flip everything upside down because it's time, why ever that is, things have to be flipped upside down. You will systematically be okay and quell yourself and know and have that knowing that I've done this before. I'm gonna be all right. And I think that's how you won't have a catastrophe in your life. Crisis, you're gonna have. The crisis is life knocking at you, like, hello, yeah, this big thing is gonna happen to you, and you need to be prepared, you need to be ready. And sometimes you don't get, when it's outside stuff happening to you that you can't be prepared for. But always practice in knowing that once you be true to yourself and know things about yourself, not assume things about yourself that you can handle, but have the knowing, you'll be okay when outside crisis is happening. And then of course the inside is much more easier to deal with. And you'll be more okay with forcing yourself to do things that normally you would be scared of. I think you still have that fear factor there, but having that knowing, it helps you to creep over that a little bit, maybe slower, to get to that goal of finishing, but at least you won't stay and not accomplish anything, like I've explained earlier, where a crisis in your life is when you just drop everything. You don't have a springboard. You don't have any goals. You just want to sit and stew in that one spot of misery. That's a crisis in your life, a catastrophe in your life. So I think that's basically all that I wanted to say about that. Let me just stop and think for a minute. Yeah, that's about it. So I just wanted to tell you guys also, because I know this is like my personal blog too, that I'm doing okay. These are the things that are going on in my life. And I diverted from having a crisis, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm feeling like I'm so proud of myself that I didn't go spiraling downward, boom, crash, like I've done in my 20s. I appreciate and I love the fact that over the course of time, let me just talk about a little bit of something about what I love about getting older. It's like the older you get, the more independent you are, and the less and less you rely on the outside influences of people and situations. You just become so comfortable of who you are. And yeah, you might come across some people who irk your nerves and stuff like that, or situations that kind of irk your nerves, but it's not you don't make those things. Could you turn that down? You don't make those things the begin and end all of your life. Remember that when you were younger? It was like that one thing or many things that are in your life, and you turn it into this big dramatic thing, and it's like, oh my God, if I don't fix it, just life is gonna come crashing and tumbling down all around me, and you're going crazy. Whether that was in a relationship, or maybe you were in school, and or maybe, people are bullying you in school. Those like the major things, right? Like relationships in school and in your social life. When those things like shit was hitting the fan, that was like your life's over. I can't handle it. And a lot of us go off scurrying, and just your person just takes a big hit. Your confidence and how you want to feel about yourself, and do you remember that, like when you were a teenager in your 20s? Goodness, my son's like not happy. But like now that I'm older, I think I'm gonna be ending this soon. Could you hold on one second? Demetrius, are you okay, Nicholas? You're good, right? Okay. No whining. Just watch your show, because we're going to be leaving here in like 15 minutes. So like the older I get, the more comfortable I feel within myself. And that's like, but like these are the people who, and so like when you do have to like, when you're older, and you're like 50 years old, I haven't reached that age yet, but when you're like in your 50s, your 60s, it's good to have like that excitement about encountering something that's new or like a little difficult, like maybe a new relationship, like you have butterflies in your stomach and you're really excited about this person, and you might have like a little fear of approaching the person that you have a crush on. But the good thing about being older is that you stop really caring about what the world thinks about you. Like there was a time when, I have to get married, I have to have 3 children because everybody's looking. Now you're just like, you know what, I just want a companion in life. I'm doing it my own way. Whether that doesn't go, maybe that goes against the grain about what other people think my life should be. But I feel just really strong and independent about yourself and what you want to do. You don't give a shit about you don't give a care about what other people think about you. That's one of the major positive things of when you get older. So I'm just trying to make some people feel better about getting older. It's not so horrible. Like there are a lot of pluses when you become older. You don't have to put up with the bull crap of the world and what's expected of you, because you just live for yourself. You live for your own. You don't have to. I remember there was a time, like even when I felt like I had to be in a relationship, even though I didn't want to be in a relationship. Why? Because everybody's looking at me. I don't want to feel like I'm a loser. Being alone, living alone, and even when I was alone, I was happy being alone, but then at the same time people are looking at me funny because like I have 3 children and I'm alone, and I'm not looking to. I have to explain to my friends that I'm okay. I don't want to be with anybody, and then they start thinking, oh, you're just scared, or you just are afraid to open your heart again. No, it's not about that. I'm just tired of dealing with somebody else. I want to deal with my own self. Like I have to be in the focus right now. That's what I want in my life. I'm happy. The moment I'm not any longer happy is the moment I'll go outside myself and I'll find somebody new. But I'm just happy right now. That's what life's all about, is just finding your happiness or being content. I think that's how, that goes back to the crisis, of 20-year-old crisis, 30-year-old crisis, 40-year-old crisis. I think that if you learn to just shrug off the world, well, basically the things that you can handle, the silliness, the drama in your life, you shrug that off and just pay attention to yourself. That's where you find your true happiness. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. I don't even know how long I've been talking, and I am so sorry that Been away for so long. There's been a lot of topics that I wanted to talk about, and like I said, I just don't have the time to do it. Or like if I do have time, it's not time that I want to just sit and talk on the computer. I just want to just chill, sit on the couch and like have some popcorn and and watch my favorite show or something, you know. So I do have like another topic that I wanted to talk about. I might do it tomorrow. I want to hit it out of the ballpark before a big chunk of weeks go by again. You don't hear from me. And plus, I like sharing with you guys. So yeah, mwah, mwah. Love everybody, and I'll see you next time. I hope you enjoyed my show today. Oh, and the other thing is that oh my God. I looked at how many people have subscribed to me, and it's so crazy. I'm so like it makes me the little things in life that happen that make you happy. So I see that I was getting more and more subscribers, and I'm telling my son, "Oh my God, you know, do you see this? I remember when I had like 28 subscribers. Now I have like 605 subscribers. Oh my God!" And I know that I lose some, but then I gain like a whole lot more. It's crazy, and I just want to tell you, everyone, that I appreciate you subscribing to me and you find what I have to say fascinating. That makes me feel really good, and it's one of those things that I've always talked about, finding your little happinesses in life, and you guys are my little happiness that you like what I gotta say. So definitely gonna say goodbye. That's another thing I have to work on. Saying goodbye, goodbye. Okay, bye.